Hi, I'm Nick from Modes, and today this is a tutorial about how to document an item in Modes at inventory level. This is a quick way to enter data to help you get essential information about your objects into Modes while meeting the standards. What is an inventory record? Well, Spectrum states that it's the basic information for the objects in your care. It also supports museum accreditation standards and is the perfect way for tackling a backlog. It's a quick way to get data in about objects in your collection. And what does Spectrum require from an inventory record? Well, it must have a unique name, number. We must record the number of items recorded in the record, and we must have a top-level written description. We must also address where the object is today. This is known as its current location and when it was located there. And finally, we must record how the item was acquired into the collection. Who is the owner of the collection? Does it belong to the museum or the trust, or is it something that's been loaned or lent to the organization? So how do we actually put this into practice and record the item in Modes? Today, my example is this pebble pot. So what is it? It's a pot. Where is it today? It's in the dining room cabinet. And how was it acquired? It was a gift. But actually, in reality, we get more bits of information than that often. So we might, when we're recording what it is, we might know who the name, in this case, of the artist or ceramicist is, Robert Fournier, and when it was made. We might know a bit more information about where it's located and indeed who it was acquired from and how. In Modes, I need to switch into editing mode. And via the edit menu, I'm going to create a new record from template. I'm going to choose the inventory template today because I'm making an inventory level record and assigning the object its correct new identity number. I'm going to click on the OK button and we see the record slip into the modes grid. I'm going to change tabs from the grid tab to the editor tab. This is the screen where we input the detailed information, and it's quite straightforward. We have a number of boxes where we put the data in. Some of the boxes are already been flagged up with a red X. This is an invalidation flag, and it's indicating that these boxes are invalid. Why is that? Because they have been left empty. So these are the mandatory fields for you to fill in order for your record to meet accreditation standards. There are also some other boxes of useful collections management data which can be filled in, such as item marked. This box actually has a terminology control applied to it, and if I right click in there, there's a show term list option, and I can say whether the item has been marked or not and select the correct valid term. Number of items, this is a free text field. I'm going to type in number 1 because it's just a single item, and the simple name in lowercase pot. Classification, this is a broader category within your collection which this item might exist. Today I'm going to record it as being part of my ceramic classification. And indeed, you could apply a term list for your classification so you be consistent in your choice of terms to this specific element. The title. Does this item have a title? Well, indeed it does. It's known as a pebble pot. And the brief description is a summary of all the information we have, identifying the object. So this is a ceramic pebble pot made by Robert. Free text. Fournier in about 1971. So we must record where the object is located. So currently it's in the dining room display cabinet. And we must record when it went into that location. So the from date, if I right click, it's a quick way to insert today's date or use the shortcut method of Control D. This puts the date in a modes format, day.month.full 4-digit year in a numerical format. Objects in our care often have more than one location. They can have a normal or a home location, and that's what the normal location element is for. And here, when not in the display cabinet, it might live in the store, on shelf 2, box number 3. I'm going to save my record as I go along. And when I click on that red tick, it will hopefully validate the rest of my record so far. But as I've got down to another mandatory field, there is an error message showing me, or validation error, that this field should not be left empty. So I'd better fill it in and acknowledge that comment with an OK. So here, acquisition method, it cannot be left empty. There is a term list applied to this field with a capital T, and if I was to right click in the data entry box, I can go to show term list, see a list of valid terms there in black. But what happens if I typed in the term donation? Maybe that was on the form. Well, Modes will correct it to the preferred term of a gift. Click on yes to acknowledge that correction. Secondly, I need to record the person who this has been acquired from. This is from a Mrs. Jean Carrick. So the way we record a person's name in Modes is surname first, leading capital letter, first name or initial, comma space, and any titles set to be included will come at the end. Address is just a free text field. And acquisition date, well, we know it was acquired in September 2020. So if I type in Sept 2020, what happens? Modes doesn't like that. It wants it in a numerical format, remember. So 9.2020, full 4-digit year. If I click on yes, Modes will correct it. And we notice now the validation column is showing me a line of black ticks. Next, if your item had an entry number from the entry form when it came into the collection, you type that number in here. And I'm finally going to record the recorder. So who made this record? It was Modes Nick. So I'm going to right click and insert user. If you have your own user account and you right click, insert user, or use a shortcut of Control U, it'll insert your username and details. So there I am, Modes Nick, and the date, again, right click, insert date, or insert today's date. When I save changes, top right hand corner, click on that red tick. My record is now complete, or is it? If I go back to the grid, what is missing there? Image. So I'm going to move to the multimedia screen, and I'm going to use drag and drop to insert images into my modes. Here's some I've selected earlier. 4 images of pebble pots. I'm going to move it across and drop those straight in one go. And I can even give a little caption or a description of each of these different views before I drop them into mode. So this is actually the rear view of the pot. Second image is the front view. The third image is of the maker's mark. And the final image is the top view. And when I say OK, in they go to the multimedia page of my record. Now I made a change to my record by adding those images, so I must save my record again. And if I flick back to the grid view, expand the screen, here we can see the inventory level record of my pebble pot in my modes catalog. And if I jump through from the grid tab to the browser tab, I can see the full record of that item. If I move to the PDF tab, here I'm on my full record inventory essentials. So a quick way to review that, maybe share that information. The multimedia tab, as we've seen already. And finally, the editor screen. And when I dragged and dropped my images in, they've all populated the grid, the editor record. But my front view and rear view are the wrong way round. So what I'm going to do is actually move their order in the structure of this record by right-clicking on the reproduction group and cutting that one out. Cut, going up to the top reproduction line, right-click, paste, paste before, and now my front view is ahead of my rear view. And when I save the record and go back to the grid, my primary picture is now that front view of the pot. And again, we'll see it now on this nice clear header up at the top right-hand corner, the front of the pot. And that is indeed my primary image in the multimedia view too. Back to the grid. So there it is. We've documented an item into modes at an inventory level record.